purchases.
Oxall, Iowa State, and man, we have not been taking our foot off the gas pedal when it comes to college. We've already got it started with NC State, and now we're moving on into Iowa State, and it's going to be interesting to see how the conference itself shapes up. But this team, I've had great respects for Iowa State and their products that they have put together, especially for what we may potentially see with their future star wide receiver in the NFL as of this year. But joining us to talk more about it and believing in the Iowa State Cyclones, here is Tyler Carter here joining the show. Iowa State, last year, I think it was really interesting because I do love the wide receiver product that is going in now to the NFL. And something to really kind of, keep an eye out on. Going back to what last season gave us, what's kind of the tangibles we should expect in his rookie season this upcoming season after what we just seen, what he contributed here up in Iowa State last year?
I definitely think that with Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, the Iowa State football account on Twitter actually showed him pulling in an insane one-handed catch. His player comp is something similar to Nico Collins. So I think it would just be more about the same. And also expect Jalen to maybe get some time. Since he's going to be more of a sort of a Tank Dell type of build. Since Tank Dell's going to be missing some time, I expect Jalen to get some snaps.
All right. Well, good preview there for the upcoming season for the Texans here. So talking about the schedule up and coming for the Iowa State Cyclones and, the Big 12, last year, there was a lot of shakeups. You started to see Kansas come in, play spoiler, and then Arizona State makes it in to the college football playoffs. Now, granted, I love what they're doing there, but there's definitely some competition that's even heating up from here. And I live here up in Colorado, so of course, it's going to be different with Dion. Without Shador and without Shiloh, now you got a new quarterback, new system, and hopefully they develop the run game. What's kind of something you've been breaking down about Iowa State to be expected for this upcoming season after what we just witnessed with the Big 12, how the conference shaped up last year?
So with Iowa State, I think for me, one of the concerns that I have coming into the season is the run defense. If you look at, there was an interesting stat last year. Iowa State was ranked 15th in the Big 12 in run defense. But if you look at the stats, I believe in the last 6 years, they were like second, sixth, fourth. They were basically ranked in the top half of the Big 12 in run defense. And last year was an outlier because they were just decimated at the linebacker position, which sort of affected their run defense. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, I think Rocco will be a good guy. They got two receivers from the portal. They had Chase Soul from Eastern Carolina, and they have Xavier Townsend from UCF, who was a childhood friend of Rocco Becht. So they already have that rapport. But I really think that the key to this season, I think, is going to be improving on the running game. Carson Hansen had a good year last year. Abu Sama, we'll see if he can have a bounce back year. He struggled a little bit last year. Everybody thought that he was going to be the feature back, but I think it's going to be that. And then look for the tight end room to be a big factor this year with Gabe Burkle coming on, and then Benjamin Bammer as the number one guy.
So looking into it, we'll talk more about on offense, but, focusing up and on defense, because we know, like, when I look at the Big 12, I think, with certain offenses, they're kind of mixture. They can mix up a bit. I feel like there have been some teams that have been more pass heavy than they have been of, throwing in some run game. So when you look at Iowa State's defense and the focus that they want to go into, especially with these opposing offenses, because you're starting out the season against Kansas State, and that's one that we know is going to probably be somewhere of a ground and pound game, but then throwing in mixtures of some passes. But, I don't think there would be much of issues with Colorado unless they figured out the running back, position.
Right.
But is there kind of some things you're kind of leaning towards this season when looking on it defensively that they want to really improve, but at the same time make a statement against a lot of these opposing offenses in this conference.
Now, yeah, of course, like I said before, I think one thing they're gonna key on is the run game. They're gonna have one their star linebacker back, Caleb Bacon, who was out for most of the year last year. Carson Willick, who is coming into the fold, who was supposed to be starting last year, who missed out on injury. There's Kale Brazina, who was a good starter, who made his first start at Kinnick and had an excellent game. So really, just the health of that linebacker, and I also think that they run a 3-3-5 with that, and that usually slowed down the spread offense. But I will see that we possibly maybe see a 4-2-5, maybe to increase and actually create some pressure.
Gonna be really interesting for sure. Um, Looking into it, I thought Rocco Becht had a pretty good season.
Yeah.
So ultimately, almost slinging it for 4,000 passing yards. Ended up with 3,500. But I do think that there were points, even when you had Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, where you had a bunch of those kind of sharp route runs, especially for the route
Oh
tree,
yeah.
and you also had a lot of those deep threats. So
Right.
now having a new receiving core here for Rocco Becht, what should we kind of expect of that, even with his play game and really kind of utilizing more of that aerial attack?
I think this year, I think one thing that we've been talking, me and Cody, my co-host, we've been talking about it is just for Rocco to be more accurate to maybe get. I think if he was at like 60 or 61%, if he can get up to like 65 or 66, and I think using the tight ends and that tight end room, which is very, very talented. I think you're going to see a lot more throws to Ben Bramer and to Gabe Burkle. Also, maybe watch for Tyler Moore too, as he's going to be playing the eighth back position. So basically, getting everyone involved in the passing offense, and not really relying on the receivers. Because if you look at it, a lot of times last year when Rocco was in trouble, he had Jalen and Jaden, who was the only tandem last year to get both 1,000 yard receiving.
Yeah. Oh, it should be interesting to watch for sure. Because it's funny because I'll get into it as our last question before
Yeah,
we end it, but I think it's just been interesting, with the quarterback room and the offense that they've built in the last couple of years.
yeah.
Really, really something to watch. So moving on to basketball, because I loved with what Iowa State brought last season.
Hmm.
And I do believe this could be a team to really capitalize what they got last year. And I mean, I saw much spurts of very good defensive play. They've
Hmm.
also really opened up a bunch of spots even within the perimeter. Um, and I do think even with this NIL and the transfer portal, just in the last interview, NC State's been kind of getting busy on their end in
Hmm.
the ACC. But Iowa State, has there been some things that they've really looked at with their roster and chemistry that they really want to kind of double down on and build upon from what we got last year?
Yeah, so last year they did really focus more on the Porter and more of the offensive side, but that sort of did bite them. But they're to where defensively, where they were, like obviously they're still top 25, but usually with these last few TJ odds teams and the early odds teams, they were like top 5 in defense, or maybe you maybe probably will see closer something to what the 2023 team was, the one that made to the Sweet 16. It's gonna be a mix of a lot of young talent, but we also have Joshua Jefferson coming back, Taman Lipsy leading the team. We have Milan Momcilovic coming back, and then we have some talented freshmen. We have Killian Torrey. We have Xavier Mitchell. So we really have a nice talented roster, and we really do have a stacked non-con, especially with a road game at Purdue. So this and a Ben McCullum led Iowa now. That's gonna the Cyhawk game is gonna bring some challenges for this Cyclone team.
Hmm. It's interesting, and I was mentioning this. I asked this question early on, especially when it came to the NIL and the transfer portal. It
Yeah,
seems to work out really well for college football because of the fact of we look at the relationship between college and the pros, and we've
right,
got guys that are day one starters right off the bat, or they could be contributors on the 53-man roster, however way that they can.
right.
But I look at the NIL now in college basketball, and the one big thing is, of course, lots of these kids are starting to come back into college now because there
Mhm.
is more money in the pot and there's
Right.
more, to really kind of show for. And I think also too, it's building a lot more of experience. So could that be something that could really help to impact for schools, even like an Iowa State, that really wants to get up there with those classes of like your Houstons, your Dukes, your North Carolinas? Because sometimes, people love a Cinderella story. But I mean, look, I'm a 90s kid, and
Mhm.
the only thing so notorious like Cinderella stories are one-hit wonders. When do you
Right.
ever hear about that group ever again?
Exactly.
So is it like, how does Iowa State, even with the NIL and transfer portal, how they really evaluate this to really get the best out of the season and with the rosters with some of their impactful players?
So I know, like with TJ, him and Matt Campbell are the same. They don't really go for the top guys. They look for guys that fit their culture. Like obviously, culture is a huge word, but they fit guys who are hard nosed, bring your lunch pail, willing to die for loose balls, play elite defense, and win games. Those are the type of guys that they look for. And the guys they have Blake Buchanan from Virginia. Um, they got a guy from Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne in the portal. They got a guy from Utah Valley, a guard who can a combo guard who can score, and a guy from Eastern Washington, another combo. Mason Williams, a combo guard who can score, who can also play good defense too. And I just think, really, I think we can really follow more of the Houston model. Houston is built in a similar way to just get more elite athletes, and they play just a tenacious type of defense. If you like watch Iowa State, if you watch the Iowa State Houston matchups, the last few years, it's just been we're like sort of mirror images of one another. So I feel like if we can follow maybe the Houston type model, that could be a way where Iowa State can have sustained success and not try to be like the Dukes or the North Carolinas or like something like that.
So you've had the pleasure of evaluating one player. Now, this is the last question before we move on. And I actually watched him get drafted. I was in
Yeah.
my hometown of Las Vegas, and you know where I'm going with this. Brock Purdy, the one thing that me and Chase have discussed about this, you've had the pleasure of evaluating him at his stature
Mm-hmm.
at Iowa State. My one big thing is I do believe he's a competitor. I do
Yes.
believe that he can help him when you game. My only problem of it is that when I think of quarterback stature, I think of a few things that come into this. One,
Right.
arm talent, accuracy. The other thing is the cadence, but at the same time, the field of vision when you're in the pocket, because it's going to be very important.
Mm-hmm.
And we know last year with the Niners, it was kind of a drop off season because there were key injuries that happened, and Brock
Mm-hmm.
Purdy kind of seemed like he had to take the team on his shoulders.
Right.
So when looking at this, because I've been trying to really dissect this, and look, I'm a
Yeah.
Brock Purdy hater. I love the kid, and I'm
Of course
very
not.
happy that he got the bag, as everybody
Right.
would
Right.
say.
Right.
But to see this, what are some things that you've evaluated? Because I'll be honest with you, the way that I'm not trying to be cutthroat, but the way I've added this is because of what I've seen with everything that I've evaluated on him.
Mm-hmm.
He's Jimmy Garoppolo with wheels. Accurate,
Mm.
can move, which is better than Garoppolo, but he distributes. He kind of follows along with the scheme that Kyle Shanahan puts together. Is there another level of Brock Purdy you see that maybe for even myself and even for our audiences to get a preview of it to kind of better understand the walk of Brock Purdy coming into this, even after being Mr. Irrelevant in that NFL draft?
Yeah. I would say yes. Because now you thought that he had something more to prove when he was the seventh round pick. Now he's gonna have way more to prove when he is the $53 million man. So there were just definitely certain games. Really, the one that comes to my mind is the Texas game in 2020, where he commanded that offense, and they were deep. They were deep in, or they were I think on their like 2 yard line, and he led them down the field for like a 98-yard drive to lead them to victory and a win over Texas to take Iowa State to his first conference championship game. Um, in 2019, same thing where Sam Ellinger came down and scored. He led the team down and kicked and led them down to a game-winning field goal. I think, and I know, like a lot of people will say, "Oh, Brock Purdy's only good because of his weapons," and and one thing that I will say, I don't think that and everybody will say that with the Super Bowl, like really, like with Brock, like he made the throws. It just some of the throws weren't, or some of the passes were not caught, and they also really, if you think about it, they really should have just ran the ball. Um, and I don't understand why why he Shanahan never runs the ball when he's up double digits in the Super Bowl. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
Yeah. No, it is interesting because, again, it is definitely a conversation that's really like hit the minds of a lot of fans that are
yeah,
trying to figure out what Brock Purdy truthfully is. And again, to me, I'm all about the player getting theirs, but I'm
right,
also going to hold them to a high expectation
as you
that
should.
they're
Yeah,
the guy that should lead
that
my team
should
to
lead to
victory and that
right,
should lead by example at the same time as well.
right.
Be interesting to see what it is. I mean, this could be an interesting schedule for the Niners, but even for an Iowa State product and what he brought to the table for the Cyclones in his tenure should be very promising for the 49ers in the future as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, he brought. I mean, basically where I would say now, it wouldn't be that without Brock Purdy. I mean, I think about his. We're gonna reminisce real quick. I remember him coming in against Oklahoma State. I'm like, man, we're 1-3. We need a boost, man. And he just came out and just threw it through. He threw off his back leg to Hakeem Butler, and basically he I think he threw for like 350 and 4 touchdowns in that game. And then the next week he was stellar against number 6 West Virginia at home, the debut of the all black jerseys. So I mean, you see that, and there was a point where Iowa State was 16-1 at home with Brock Purdy as a starter. So like I think he and a whole bunch of others in that 2018 class changed the culture of Iowa State football and basically where it is today. To see where Iowa State is today, it wouldn't be this without Brock Purdy.
Oh, I love it, man. Absolutely love it. Tyler, appreciate you for coming on by up onto the show. We're tapping in with all of our audiences here where people can find you, and even for some that definitely haven't seen any Iowa State contents as of recently, but where they can tap into and keep on believing in those Cyclones the upcoming season.
Yes, we are Bleav in Iowa State. We actually have 5 different forms of social media. So here they are on X/Twitter. We are on called Bleav in Iowa State, at Bleav in Iowa, Bleav in ISU. That's at Bleav in ISU. Facebook page at Bleav in Iowa State. Um, on TikTok, we're at Bleav in Iowa State podcast. On Instagram, we are Bleav in Iowa State. And for YouTube, check out our content on Bleav in Iowa State. Really check out, and I think you'll love the TikTok page. It's blowing up. So check us out there. You can check out my co-host. He is Fomet Campbell. He's actually a student at Iowa State, so you'll definitely get to hear a student perspective from him. I can be found at Side Tie Guy. And yes, Bleav in Iowa State and Bleav in the Cyclones.
There you go. Love it, man. Appreciate you for coming on by, Tyler. Enjoy the rest of the week and good luck to the up and coming season. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, man, and go Cyclones.
You got to love that for a college setting like that, man. And especially when you got a lot of those diehard guys that just love a lot of their collegiate schools. I mean, they're in it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you're in the heart of Columbus.